fighting games are a much needed outlet in the space of gaming as a whole. It's like rock, paper, scissors, except there's no paper, there's no scissors, and the rocks you're just using to beat each other to death. It seems like every year fighting games are growing in popularity. The fact that we can fill up stadiums and gather hundreds of thousands of viewers to watch friendly competition at the top level really brings a tear to my eye. And the pro scene isn't even that hard to follow. You just gotta remember that a Street Fighter character won a Tekken tournament, a Tekken character won a Smash Bros tournament, and the current Guilty Gear Evo champion came from Smash Bros Melee. All of that's true, by the way. Though this genre has already cemented itself as one of the greats, the road to get to where we are today is littered with the broken remains of all that came before it. Forgotten fighting games that either fell off because they were bad or were just not worth the money it would take to keep them on life support. Hundreds of fighting game franchises have come and gone, which is kind of sad when you think about it, but the reality is that the people at the top are doing things so well that there's not really room for anyone else. Fighting games in general have just become a lot more defined. We get balance patches and DLC characters, deeper mechanics and DLC characters, rank ladders and how many f***ing DLC characters are there? The good news is that though there were a lot of casualties to get us here, just about every type of fighting game is represented in at least a few of the major titles. These days, we have popular traditional 2D fighting games like Street Fighter, Grand Blue, and Guilty Gear Strive, popular team-based fighters like Marvel vs. Capcom, Dragon Ball FighterZ, and Mortal Kombat 1, and of course, there's popular 3D fighting game franchises like Tekken and... Where the hell are all the 3D fighters? Growing up in a time where I actually got to experience this transforming into this, it was almost expected for a lot of fighting games to at least try and transition into something more state-of-the-art. But for one reason or another, the idea of creating a 3D fighting game has gone from being an exciting endeavor to a shadowy omen that promises nothing but a colossal failure. Which kinda sucks. Growing up, I played a ton of 3D fighters that I genuinely enjoyed. I also played a ton that were not that good. But let's focus on the good ones and dive into 3D fighting games that I genuinely wish had a second chance. This video isn't sponsored, but I did make a second channel where I'm going to be uploading a lot more frequently and a lot more unscripted stuff because every video here turns out to be a massive project. I linked it in the top of the description and in the top comment of the video, so please go subscribe to that if you haven't already so that you can see more content with your boy. Okay, that's it. Let's start the video. Hello? Start the video? Start the video, please. Power Stone. If you already know what Power Stone is, then high five. If you've never heard of it, then buckle up. Power Stone is a 3D fighting game made by Capcom, which I can only define as Mario Party meets Dragon Ball Z meets enough caffeine to kill a small village. The gameplay is fast, the characters are over the top and charming, and it oozes personality all the way through. However, a big aspect that sets this game apart from not only every other game on this list, but every other game ever, is the insanity of the stages. Every single one of these plays out like a fever dream induced by ayahuasca and a disease that went extinct in the 1400s. Don't believe me? Well, here's a fight on an aircraft carrier where you could use the cannons to shoot at your opponents. But guess what? You're in the middle of the war, so the aircraft carrier gets shot out of the sky. Now you have to fall down and fight for the umbrellas that are available, because if you don't have one by the time you get to the bottom, you're gonna take massive damage while your enemies Mary Poppins and laugh at you. Here's a stage where you're fighting in a temple garden, but everything catches on fire, so you have to climb up a burning building to escape. How about this temple stage where the floor breaks beneath you and you have to skateboard away from a giant boulder, and only the first players get to go in the door while the others get smashed for a ton of damage. At the time that this game came out, no other game came close to this level of interactive variability. Veritability? I don't know the word for that. Also, this game came out on the Dreamcast, which is the video game equivalent of being born with something terminal. The major downside of this title is how basic the actual combat is, making it more of an arena fighter where combos serve as a way to knock opponents away for you to collect stones or pick up weapons. modes. The main focus is to kill your opponents before they kill you. The easiest way to do that is to collect 3 power stones so that you could turn into your Super Mega Mondo mode, which functions as an entirely new form that changes your moveset and gives you access to 2 special moves. As a Capcom series, this franchise is full of wonderful characters. Wang Ting became my favorite because he's very clearly based on Dragon Ball Z, but Axel was a close second because look at him, he's dope as hell, and he turns into a big wheel. That's awesome. There were only 2 actual Power Stone games ever made. The first one focusing more on being an actual fighting game, locking you in 1v1 battles and offering a punch button, a kick button, a jump button, and a grab button. But I think they realized that their combat wasn't too great to play, so for Power Stone 2, they removed the kick button altogether and turned it into more of a party brawler by adding the evolving stages gimmick. Now I'm about to say something that breaks my fucking heart, but after playing this game to collect footage for this video, I realized that the combat is trash. I wouldn't even be able to estimate how many hours I spent playing this game with my friends as a kid, but as an adult, there are just way too many shortcomings to ignore. Like, there's no dodge button or block button. In the arcade mode, you basically have to spend the entire time running away from enemies, cheap-shotting them, collecting the stones, dealing damage, and doing it again. And I actually beat the arcade mode on both of these games to get footage for this video, and it was not that fun. But still, much like any other party game ever made ever, the issues in overall gameplay or lack thereof fall to the wayside when you're just playing with friends and trying to have a good time. As long as you don't stare at this game too closely, you could happily enjoy the little moments where you're trying to spirit bomb your friend with the least health. I can see how the novelty of these stages can wear off pretty quickly, and nowadays we have games like Party Animals which accomplishes basically the exact same thing for a newer generation. But realistically, I feel a revisit to the Power Stone franchise with insane stages that have like a WarioWare twist, randomly generated events, and actual fighting game mechanics could be a lot of fun. An avalanche of beating ass but thinking fast would be a blast, and really action, lungs collapse and cheese gaps. Next up, we got Urban Reign, which is one of the most underrated fighting games I have ever played. Honestly, when I first played Power Stone for this video and then realized that it didn't really age too well, I started to question if my love for this genre was purely nostalgia. But then Urban Reign kicked me in the mouth, did a juggle combo, wall bounced me, broke my legs, and said, "Hey, damn you." For starters, everyone has a strike button, a grapple button, a run button, and a dodge button. There is no block button in this game. If you want to not get hit, you have to time the presses on your dodge. You can also break out of grabs by guessing the direction they're throwing you, but you have to dodge strikes preemptively. If you're dodging though, you can be grabbed, so if you just spam dodge, you'll get acquainted with the concrete really fast. Every direction you input while you press your buttons change what you do or target. Directional dodges make you deflect, while directional strikes and grabs offer variations that not only change the attack itself, but also the part of the body that the attack is targeting. Which matters because if you damage somebody's legs enough, hitting their legs will deal more damage and stun them. This all sounds like overcomplicated nonsense, but once it all clicks, it's like the first time a baby sees color. Chaining combos together, juggling opponents, or reacting to 5 different enemies at a time in the single player beat 'em up mode. Also, fucking Paul Phoenix and Martial Law are here. Didn't know where to throw that in, but there you go. Every character also has multiple special moves. There's team grapples and versus team grapples, and the roster is actually pretty massive. Playing 2v2s against a hard CPU with a pal and pulling off insane co-op attacks or juggles feels rewarding. And for what it's worth, the single player story mode is an exciting experience all the way through if you can handle the insane difficulty. And I really mean insane. Okay, alright, please guys. Please! What is this? What is that? Dude! Are you so... What am I... What am I supposed to do there, dude? I need you out of here. Oh. They don't even stop. They don't even let me They don't even... Guys, let me land. Just, that's all I want, is to land for like a second, please. I missed the fucking ground. And just like that, double choke slam. All right, awesome, sick, great. But there are a few massive issues. Like, if you pointed a gun to the back of my head and asked me to name the main protagonist of this game, I'd say, Carl and his friend... Akiko? Basically, not a single character in this game is memorable past the point of being Karate Guy, Big Buff Guy, Street Thug 2, Paw Phoenix, Martial Law, or Kung Fu Master. Even though I spent a lot of my childhood playing this game with friends, it's very obvious that the multiplayer aspect was just an afterthought. There's nearly no variety in versus choices, and the overall vibe is as bare bones as can be. The bones are just really, really fun. The actions are really responsive, and besides the occasional moments where you get jumped and ass blasted, I'm shocked at how good this game still holds up. The system was just really well done, and you know who else thinks so? Infovine, a dev company that apparently enjoyed this game so much that they turned its exact gameplay into an online fighting game called Zone 4 Fight District, which borrows a lot from Urban Reign. Sure, it was an MMO and featured different modes, a ranked ladder, and a ton of microtransactions, but when I say it took the exact gameplay, I mean down to the animations. I've tried to research this on multiple occasions, and as far as I could find, Namco, the developers of Urban Reign, had absolutely nothing to do with Zone 4, which is a little alarming because they stole everything but somehow did it worse years later. Zone 4 ended up closing down in 2019, so I guess it's a little too late for any of this to matter, but a lot of people do seem to miss this game. When it comes to Urban Reign, I personally still really enjoyed my experience playing it again for this video. I'm actually going to be doing a full playthrough of this on a live stream sooner or later, so the VOD is probably up somewhere. If it is, I'll link it in the description so that you could check out the madness yourself. I mean it when I say that you owe it to yourself to find a copy of this game just so that you could see how responsive a 3D fighter can actually be. But just remember, this game is very hard. Alright, well played, Katanashi. But you're gonna have to do better than that to defeat me again. I've already learned all your moves. Ooh. I already learned some of your moves. Okay. I got a lot to learn. I can't in good faith make a video on the loss of 3D brawlers without at least mentioning what I believe to be one of the saddest losses in 3D brawler history. The late and great Rumbleverse. If I had to use one statement to sum up this game, it would be holy shit. What just happened, and can we do it again? It functioned primarily as a battle royale built around hand-to-hand combat. You'd launch out of a cannon and land somewhere in the bustling Grappital City where you and your ally would collect stat upgrades, find weapons, and most importantly, learn moves for the upcoming enemies you'd face. Think about it as like Fortnite, except instead of finding an SMG, it's a DDT. The combat in this game was surprisingly complicated. There were grapples, strikes, throws, wall bounces, multiple combos that had different functionality, weapons, and even a superstar meter which gave you access to your big slam. You could also dodge and even do that cool air dodge which would give you distance in the air like in Smash Bros. Melee. But the one thing that this game did better than any other 3D fighting game that I've ever played was the use of its environment. Grappital City was a massive battleground you'd be able to use to your advantage. Not only did you spend your time gathering level ups, weapons, and skills, but your fights would play out dramatically different based on where you were. Fall damage was a factor, so fighting on skyscrapers was a high-risk, high-reward slugfest where a false move would cause you to see God. Slamming someone off the higher buildings in the game and dealing their entire health bar in a single move move was such a euphoric rush that MGMT is already writing an album about it. Getting knocked into the water was a ring out, so if the final circle ended up being near the ocean, people would intentionally look for big throw moves like giant swings so that they could toss you into your watery grave. Now, this wasn't without flaws, don't get me wrong. It was almost impossible to have a fair fight in this game, people waiting in the sidelines to land a grapple the second that you're vulnerable, or elbow drop you from above to eliminate you mid 1v1. There were a ton of hilarious, albeit frustrating moments, but it didn't really matter. Everything from the Looney Tunes ass animations to the cheesy announcer making a joke every few seconds was a reminder to not take this game too seriously. There's a very famous and overused quote that I'm sure you've seen on a drop-shipped sweater somewhere in a TikTok ad, but I think it really fits here. It's about the journey, not the destination. And a lot of video games tend to forget this very important aspect, which creates an awful experience for the people who don't win. Rumbleverse avoided that entirely. I've been eliminated in this game pretty fast multiple times by getting pile driven from 5 miles up, and instead of shitting my pants and then running to Twitter so that I can make a scalding tweet about how unfair a mechanic is, I just scooted my computer chair back, stared at my wall, and said, "That motherfucker got me." And I think that's beautiful. Unfortunately, this game is dead with no hope of it ever being brought back because it just wasn't as profitable as it needed to be in order to survive as a live service battle royale. It still kind of breaks my heart when I think about it, and whenever I go through the footage that I have saved when I used to play with my friends, it's equal parts exciting as it is depressing. But I'm glad that I got to experience Rumbleverse for the 6 months that we got to play it. I salute you, Grapital City, and every night I beg the heavens that you will split the sky and descend with one final pile driver, just to let us bathe in your light, if even for a day. Next up, we got a game that is so theoretically insane that if I didn't have evidence to show you, you'd call me a liar and burn me at the stake. Or other hyperbole, I don't know. Have you ever wondered what would happen if every single hip-hop artist decided to be an underground street fighter instead? Def Jam Fight for New York answers the age-old question, what if they made Smash Brothers in the hood? Featuring famous hip-hop artists at the time like Fat Joe, Method Man, Ice-T, and Bubba Sparxxx, alongside some more varied names like Danny Trejo and even Snoop Dogg. I don't really know how else to explain this game besides a WWE title that was created in the RV from Breaking Bad. This is some pristine stuff. Tight, yeah! It's fairly standard for the genre of 3D brawler, but does everything at levels that are impressive even by today's standards, with unique fighting styles, reversal animations, and expression behind every single drunken fisted punch. The single-player story mode is still my favorite fighting game campaign ever made, and playing it nearly 20 years after the game came out, I'm surprised at how well this still holds up. I mean, this game came out in 2004, but the world building is a masterclass. Voice acting that's as smooth as butter, cold as ice, and cold as iced tea as well.
I'm gonna run right through you, chump.
The story itself is cheesy but enjoyable all the way through, where you get to create your own character and navigate through a gritty, action-packed gang war. And a lot of these rappers voice acted themselves? While playing this game again, I realized that D-Mob, aka one of the most important ally characters in the game, sounded a bit familiar. And you want to know who D-Mob is voice acted by?
There's only one way to find out.
It's fucking Kratos. God of War voice actor of the year, Christopher Judge Kratos.
Read, boy.
And D-Mob is where he got his start in video game voice acting. What the fuck? Oh god, that genuinely shocked me when I saw that. With the stages ranging from clubs to subways and even a house that's on fire. And before you ask, yes, you can kill each other. But my personal favorite part of this game is something that I feel most fans can agree with: the special moves. Def Jam Fight for New York has my favorite special moves out of any fighting game I have ever played. They're all insane, overpowered looks at what would happen if Dragon Ball Z characters characters joined professional wrestling. Like, look at the sheer impact on some of these. Okay, I'm gonna click on random super moves, and then I'm gonna rate how painful they are on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's go. Ow. Okay. Ouchie. Okay. 10. Definite 10. Oh my god. Is that a liver shot so hard that you do a gainer? Can we go above 11? Okay, already a 10. Okay. Oh jeez. I think by the second crack, there's nothing left. You know what I mean? I think you're paralyzed after the second crack. Knocking it down to like a 9.5 maybe? Okay, don't sit down. Don't sit. 10. Dead on impact. He just scorpioned. Half of these are just gnarly scorpions. Oh! Oh my goodness! Oh! What can we even rank that? Gee, I want to see that again. Oh god. Alright, oh my god, dude. That is like a Mortal Kombat fatality. There is no way that your vertebrae is still attached. There is no way. That's a 10. It's absolutely brutal. I think the best phrase to sum up this entire title is nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for a fighting game that starred hip-hop artists with a soundtrack of chart-topping classics. Nobody asked for a story mode with voice acting and a create a character screen that is presented as a criminal sketch. Nobody asked for unique animations and fighting styles with separate advantages or disadvantages, or the ability to mix those styles in different orders to create something new. But at the end of the day, just because nobody asked does not mean that we didn't want it. This game is in my top 5 fighting games ever. It may not survive being live service, having 1,000 balance patches, or even a battle pass, but I don't give a whole dick about that. I care that it was amazing. And just because nobody was asking for it then, doesn't mean that nobody is asking for it now. I'm asking, Snoop Dogg, if you're seeing this, look me in the eyes. Please, make another Def Jam fighting game. And let's just pretend that the sequel Def Jam Icon never really happened. That was just a silly little whoopsie, haha, oops. I know that 3D brawlers are becoming a thing of the past, and in revisiting the best ones that I've ever played, I ended up leaving with more questions than answers. I mean, sure, they're really hard to execute correctly, but the payoff is well worth it. If there's any 3D brawlers that I may have missed, please let me know in the comment section, because I'm always looking for more 3D brawlers to play. And a quick other thing, if you have a fighting game franchise that you used to love, but it ended up dying or is just forgotten about, please let me know in the comment section below so that I could check them out, because I would love to make another video like this, because I had such a blast making this one. I started streaming again, by the way, which I know took me long enough, but hey, I'm back. The current plan is to stream at least 3 days a week, and a lot of those streams are gonna happen right here on the YouTube channel. So if you ever see me live, get in there and say D-Mob sent me, and I'll know you're on my side. Final thing, I know it's a lot. I made a second channel where I'm going to be uploading a lot more frequently. All of the scripted, insane stuff is still going to be here, so if that's your favorite stuff, don't worry, that's not going anywhere else. But I am going to be doing like the more unscripted, less edited, fun content over there, and I do want to upload there a lot more than I upload here, so subscribe there if you can. In fact, one of those videos are on the screen right now. Go check it out. I'm sure you'll have fun. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, which should be soon, I think. Okay, that's it. Goodbye.